Okay, I know I may have told you guys about the 69 Red Bull Mach 1, the Mona Lisa of muscle cars. So I guess we'll name her Mona, right? Okay, 69 Mach 1, we got her back. We got the update, we got the exhaust fixed. It was a broken hanger that I wanted to get replaced, but the mechanic's like, well, you know, it'll hold up for a while. But no, it didn't. The second hanger broke. I said, replace it because it's going to break. I was right. And I'm not really a mechanic. I just play one on YouTube here. But what I was going to say is, this is a 69 original Mach 1 with a white interior. You can see it. Okay, got this in May of 2021. And I did a lot of work to it. Put 389 gears in it, track-lok. And we went with the 351, kind of blew a rod, so we went with the 408 stroker from Blueprint Engines, 460 horse, 501 torque. And this is, like I say, this is an all original Mach 1 69. All the codes match. I have the 351 original block in the garage. You had to see that. That got delivered from the mechanic on an actual farm tractor. Guy drove it a mile to my house from the mechanic. It was funny. Getting a tow truck driver to do it was almost impossible this time. But when I did the 427, when I went with a stroker, a Blueprint 427 stroker from a 350 in the 68 Blue Ice Camaro, the 427, seemed like more tow truck drivers were willing to do it. This time around, I had to get a good old boy with a farm tractor to deliver my 351 Windsor. I keep my old engines. And I like to think about different builds. So anyway, this is a really good car. It's my favorite one, as you can see. Ford guy, right? I love Chevys too. But eventually I'm going to get the GoPro hooked up, or have this hooked up in the car again, so we can get actual footage driving the car and go into car shows and stuff like that. But a few things have surfaced in my life that kind of set me back with this channel. So my hopes is to bring better content, okay? To me, this is probably the nicest Mustang they made, okay? So again, we did 389 gears, track-lok, which is basically positive traction. It's Ford calls it track-lok, Chevy calls it posi, same thing. I don't know if you guys can see the white interior. I don't know. You can kind of see that, right? The only thing that doesn't work in this car is the alt gauge. You really don't need that, to be honest with you. If your alternator goes, you're not going to have much life anyway, so it's really not the end of the world not to have an alternator gauge. Plus, I'm getting something, I'm plugging into the cigarette lighter. Hopefully the cigarette lighter works. This way we can check the alternator without replacing the gauge in the dash. Okay. My friend and brother Kelly Mead, we've been talking for years on this one, on how to build it right. So, you know, we had built the 351, pretty much did everything: distributor, regulator, new starter, new alternator, new 6-blade fan, and then we did the track-lok. We did a few other things. Let me think. I don't know, probably a new radiator. And just when we got the gears in, the 351 died. Figures, right? And that was in February of 2023. It took until December. I got tired of looking at this thing sitting. And they only had one 408 left in the country. It was the only 408 left. Blueprint was out of it. Summit, I found it on Summit. Jugs was out of it. Could not find the 408 stroker anywhere. But Summit had it in Texas. I believe it was Austin, Texas. They had one left. It was shipped in 2 days, free shipping. Got a really good deal on it, and it was free shipping. And now the engine is $500 or $600 more than it was. The engines, if you're going to get an engine, always get it before the new year, because the minute January comes, they go up about $500, $600, $700, $1,000. Note to self, okay? So as far as this car goes, the only thing that I can see that's not working is the alt gauge. Everything else works except the clock. We don't need a clock. You know, these cars are timeless. I don't need a clock in the dash, okay? Today you have a phone, you don't need all that stuff. So the clock and the oil gauge, that's it. I'm not worried about that. Fuel gauge, when you're on 3/4, it's full. As long as you know that, you're okay. Could be the sending unit, right, Kelly Meat? Could be something else, but I'm not really worried about that at the moment. If it craps out, then I'll worry about it. But anyway, we got the hangers fixed. There's no more rattling going on. The free play in the clutch, you know, we had to mix and match on that. There's a little bit too much free play. It doesn't interfere with the throwout bearing. It's not, the clutch is engages and disengages at a clear point where the free travel is not interfering with that function, so we're not going to burn out the clutch. Okay, we had to go to a different bell housing because the original flywheel on this car was a 164 with the Ford bell housing. I can't remember the bell. It was the original bell housing that came with the 351 Windsor. It was a 164 tooth flywheel. And when I went to the Super Street Pro clutch, single disc, Super Street Pro, rated up to 500 horse, which is perfect. It came with a lightweight 157 tooth flywheel. We had the hardest time matching that flywheel. We couldn't match the flywheel up correctly with the bell housing because the location for the starter wasn't lining up. So we had to get a K code 289 Ford bell housing, so we could match up this 157 tooth flywheel with a 6-bolt bell housing. And that put the starter in prime position to catch the flywheel. So we remedied that problem. But what happened was the Z-bar, Chevy calls it a Z-bar, I think Ford calls it a equalizer bar. When you depress the clutch in and out, it's the linkage bar that kind of connects everything from the linkage bar to the throwout bearing. Is another arm. So we had to modify that linkage, the Z-bar. We had to make an adapter because when we went to the different bell housing, it changed the geometry of the distance between the bell housing and that linkage arm. Anyway, so we remedied that, but in doing so, when we mixed and matched parts, there's a little bit too much free play and the clutch coming back, and you kind of have to put your foot a little bit on it or else it'll go boom, it'll snap back, you know, but I can live with it for now. It is what it is. If it becomes a more serious problem down the road, we'll address it. If not, I got big quads and good calves. I'm not a weakling. Right, Kelly Mead, you know that. Anyway, thank God my Italian side, I was born with big quads and calves. So these little clutch problems aren't a big deal for me. Anyway, that's about it. I can't think of anything else with this car. There's a couple little scratches here and there. A couple of imperfections on the paint. Maybe down the road we'll address that. I'm not sure. But for now, we're going to enjoy it. 69 original Mach 1 Red Bull. I call it my Red Bull Mach 1 Mona Lisa, the Mona Lisa of muscle cars. Say what you want. This is it. John Wick didn't kill all those people for a Camaro, did he? But anyway, I love my 68 Camaro. That's my white Silverado. I like Chevy and Ford. They're my favorite. Challengers aren't bad. I always mess around with our Dodge guys. And a lot of stuff I joke around with until someone says something that's a little off key. Anyway, if you ever get your hands on a 302 Boss Mustang, I repeat, do not sell that car. This car is the last true American muscle car. Naturally aspirated, 444 horse. It's really putting out about 460, 470 to be honest with you. Get into that another day. It's probably about 460, 470 horse. It's probably spitting out about 410 torque. This car is a race car for the street. Google Boss 302, read about the history with Parnelli Jones, the 69 and 70. He won in 70 the Trans Am Series. This graphics is just like the 1970 with the hockey stick stripe. The 1970 Boss has that. The 69 has a C-shaped stripe, and the 2012 will follow suit with that stripe. The 69 and 12 have the same stripe, the C stripe on the side. The 1970 and the 2013 have that same hockey stick stripe, and it's reflective at night. This car has the Roadrunner engine. It's all forged internals, hot cam setup, track key. Don't be fooled. This car is a beast. This 302 is the bee's knees. If you get your hands on one, I repeat, do not sell that car. To me, I'd rather have this car than a Corvette any day. Corvettes are nice, but there's something badass about a 302 Boss Mustang. This is Michelle's convertible. We're going to be fixing that up too. We're going to be tweaking that out. That's going to be a sleeper ride. Anyway, this video is about this car, okay? It's about that car. And I always forget to tell you something about cars. And when I end the video, I always like, oh, I should have said that. Is there anything like, no. Well, when we got the car back, we had to put a new battery in, and one of the high beams was out. That was it. Anyway, that's it. She's back on the road. Life is good. January 4th, 2024. It's going to be a good year. Look for more videos with AKA the Lemonade Man, AKA the Ford guy, and the Bandit to some. Okay? And I still don't have all gray hair, right? I guess I don't look too bad for 56, do I? Anyway. All right, guys. Peace out. Connor, give him a shout out to the Yellow Hammer, my man Connor, and his channel. There we go. Steve McQueen would be proud, and John Wick. I think so. Who's to say? I'll never tell. Okay, peace out.